Welcome to the Axpona Audio Insider Podcast. My name is Lenny Florentine, and today we have something completely new for Axpona. We're going to be talking with Travis Chin from IASCA. IASCA stands for the International Auto Sound Challenge Association, and you're going to hear about how all of these cars compete on a championship level, and actually you're going to get to see it in person at Axpona this year for the first time ever. This is a great time learning about car audio and kind of a look back into the past at what I remember from car audio from the late 90s and early 2000s. You know what I'm talking about, those faceplates that come off and all that fun stuff. So it's a little nostalgia mixed into this podcast, but it's a good time for the first time ever. We're going to have car audio at Axpona. So here is Travis Chin from IASCA on the Audio Insider Podcast.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
So this is IASCA's first time at Axpona, and for those like me who really aren't part of the car audio world, tell us a little bit about what IASCA is.
So we are a car audio competition organization, and what we do primarily is we conduct car audio competitions. There's two styles of formats that we deal with. The one that we're doing at Axpona is called sound quality. That format that we have for that is SQC, so sound quality challenge. With that also comes IQC, which is installation quality challenge. We will go and we will listen to cars and we will judge them based off of how it listens and also how does it look with the safety. We will present the winner with an award. We have different classes so that we're not all lumping all the cars together. So we'll have some kind of in a more beginner class, and then we'll go all the way up to expert class. The second format, which we won't be doing at Axpona, is called SPL, so it's sound pressure level. That's just where we're measuring how loud these cars are. So that's a completely different style.
Probably not the place to do that one.
Yeah, not at Axpona. It's going to shake everything.
So it's very interesting, the whole car audio world, that I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are, a lot of them probably either have been in that world or are still in that. But how did you get into the car audio scene? Like, what was your history up until you got into IASCA?
My history, as a kid, I played a lot of instruments through school, so really got interested in music. And then in high school, started getting into more live PA style type setups. And then as that was going on, then of course through high school I was learning how to drive. So you put loud music and driving together, which then gets you to car audio. As I got through to college, someone brought me to an IASCA event, and that's where I was like, oh, you can actually get scored on how well your stereo sounds, and just took off from there. Started competing back in 1994, and then became a judge in 1998, and just grew from there.
And now you're the president.
Yeah.
So when did this happen?
In 2012, I started becoming more of a national judge and international judge. I had then gone down to South America a few times, became the head SQ judge down there for their finals in South America. Eventually became a judge's trainer and went and did judges training around the U.S. and then eventually Mexico, and then I went to Russia one year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I kind of built up that status, I guess. 2019, I was given the opportunity to kind of take over and just ran with it.
That's a wild story, just from competing to president. That's amazing.
It's a long journey.
So do you have multiple events every year, or how many, like around the country, or how does it work?
Primarily, we have events in the U.S. We're mostly based in the U.S. We do have some events in Asia where there's an Asia director, and he does them over there. We have directors also in Mexico and Russia, and have some kind of starting up over in Europe again. In the U.S., we have like several events every weekend.
Oh, wow.
We just had, I think it was 3 different Toys for Tots events, and it's like winter. So, when it becomes springtime and it's warmer everywhere, then, we can have like 10 to 15 events each weekend across the whole U.S.
Wow, so it's kind of like a network going across. That's so interesting.
Yeah, we have multiple judges basically all across the world, but a pretty good amount in the U.S.
Let's go back in time. Let's go back to high school when you were learning to drive and you started getting into car audio. What was your first? I remember mine. We can talk about that afterwards, but what was your first car audio system?
Well, if you don't count me kind of messing around with my parents' cars, because I just kind of hacked away and they didn't really know I was doing it. I'd say my true first system was, I know I had an Alpine CD pull-out head unit, and I think the first rendition had, the acoustic brand. It had a crossover, and I'm pretty sure it was acoustic amp, Altec Lansing mids. I think I had a Pioneer subwoofer. That was my very first, super, grocery store job budget car stereo there.
I think everybody remembers their first car audio system. I feel like a lot of people have had these at some point, whether they stick with it or whether they don't, and whether they go into home audio or whatever the hobby is that they go into. I feel like, especially at that age, like at that high school, college, a lot of people are really into this. I remember I was into this back in 2002, maybe 2001, 2002. I had a 93 Lexus LS400. I got it from a public auction. It was government seized, so it had like TVs in the headrests and had like big rims and all this stuff. But I wanted an audio system, so I went to this store that was a chain back then in this area called Tweeter, and I had them build up a system. And I want to say the head unit's the only thing. I'm pretty sure I had a Sony Explode, the one like probably with the dolphins or something like that was real big. Remember the dolphin screen? Yep. That was real big back then.
That's classic.
Right? And then I had 2 or 4 JL12s, and I had a JL 501 amp. And I had like them do up the light kit back when it was like actual neon.
Oh boy, yeah.
Like where it was like the glowing tube that you had to have like full power.
Yeah.
I still remember that. I don't know whatever happened to any of it, but I still remember that first audio. It was my only car audio system, but it was nice. You could hear it from the back of a building. So let's talk a little bit more about the event that's going to be happening at Axpona. So you have the Sound Off event. What is somebody typically going to be in store for if they go to this? Somebody kind of walking around. Are they going to get to see everything? Are they going to get to go like look in the cars or listen to them? What are they looking at?
So it'll be a full, well, hopefully a full haul of vehicles, all with sound systems in them. We're primarily using it more as a showcase. So although there's going to be a competition going on, it'll be just us judges kind of hopping in and out for the competition, but it's totally open for the public. You can just come up, ask for a demo, and you'll sit in this car with the owner or whoever's playing the system, and you'll get to listen to it in there with them, and you can hop from car to car, listen to the different systems that are there, different setups, different brands, different cars, obviously. And you'll just get to hop from car to car as you want, if you want to. Maybe you just want to come look and see what their install is. You can just ask them, hey, can I take a look at what the system looks like in the trunk? Because sometimes they have to close it when they give the demo. So it might look like a whole bunch of closed up cars, but that could be because every car has a listener in it. We'll have different vendors there to show off their equipment. Hopefully people will hop in and out of these cars. All of the participants know that they're expected to give demos, and they all love to. It's more of a hangout for them to just get to share what their system is, and kind of show it off.
Are there a lot of like kind of tricked out cars or just some like, what are we in store for? Like, what are we from a visual car aspect? What give us a taste of that?
So most of the cars from the outside will look pretty basic. Some of them might have aftermarket wheels, but for the most part, they'll look very, stock looking. Looking like cars that you could drive, right? And it's not until you get in the car that some of them have installs that look OEM like, right? So you might not even be able to tell. It's all hidden behind OEM grills and, maybe using an OEM head unit. But I know that there's a couple of them that once you pop the trunk open, it's like, wow, there's no room for anything else. It's just all equipment. It's all showing off with LED lights and everything. I think one of them has motorized equipment in the back. So the amps, I think, move.
Oh, wow.
It'll be like a nice range of cars, but I don't think any of them are too flashy.
Well, that's actually very interesting because that kind of shows that their dedication to the audio aspect of the car rather than just the entire thing.
It's that these guys, some of them use their cars as daily drivers. So it'll be really maybe eye-opening for the spectators that they'll be able to see these cars and go, hey, I could get that in my car too.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool because it is like something that really anybody could do. And I know some of these systems, these car audio systems can get expensive as well. Like there might be some really high-end stuff. Like what is there, like, how high do these go up to? I'm very curious. So like at Axpona, the audio systems, you might have $1 million system, right? What is like the top tier? Like what are we looking at?
Well, I think mostly when people talk about the expense in their system, it's probably more in the install and the fabrication rather than the equipment. Equipment wise, you could have a fairly inexpensive system, several $1,000s in equipment to some of the components are, in the $10,000, $15,000 each. So there's a big range in that, but most of it is in the fabrication and making it fit, and then also beyond that is the tuning aspect of it, sitting there and listening and tuning it, through the DSP. It's like that's a lot of time right there.
So in the process of somebody getting one of these, you're looking at picking out the equipment. You're looking at getting this custom install where they have to kind of remold I've seen it where like they actually like remold around the car to put these speakers into different parts, and then it's tuning. So it's a whole process.
Yeah, and some cars you don't have to mold as much new speaker locations or amp locations. Sometimes it's a little bit easier. Sometimes the OEM locations will actually work for the speakers. It might just be reinforcing it or something. Then, there are times where it's like, oh, we need to just completely move and relocate this speaker, so we're going to have to rebuild, the dashboard or the A-pillar or something.
When you're judging these, and there's two competitions, and so how are they being judged?
Okay, so for sound quality, we have a score sheet, and we have all these trained judges. There's the different sections of the score sheet are tonal accuracy, sound stage, imaging, and then noise and ergonomics. Every criteria within those sections are given a score. So we'll score them on a scale of 1 to 20, what their sub bass is, then their mid bass, then their mid range, and their highs. And what we're trying to do is we're scoring them how well do they reproduce the music as if it's a live performance. So the live performance should sound like it's coming from in front of them, as if the stage is pretty much out out on the hood. The better scoring cars will have it like beyond the hood, so it's more almost like coming from in front of the car. And then there's imaging, so it's how well does each instrument or vocal place on the soundstage, so center, left, and right. And then we'll also have soundstage, so how wide is the stage, how deep does it go, where is the stage actually at, and what's the height? Does it come from eye level, or is it like coming from your feet? Right. Of course, the better scoring cars will have it more closer to eye level. It's multiple things that we're scoring them on.
It's so interesting that you guys look at imaging like that, and that's kind of what it's all about. Because I think the majority of people who aren't in this car audio world probably don't think about that. They're thinking when you're judging a car audio competition, maybe it's the loudest, or maybe it's just the best sounding just from wherever it's coming. But you don't think about the stereo image or maybe there's like Atmos image as well. Like I don't know if that's kind of a thing with like Atmos tracks and whatnot, if any of that's built in, but like just the stereo imaging being the most important, or one of the most important things, is something that I don't think a lot of people realize.
That's basically to see how well the system will play to a reference sound, which is live music. Imaging's pretty important.
Yeah, I mean it's very important in home audio and car audio as well. And I can tell you, when I'm driving listening to my radio, which is nothing, right? Nothing special. But it always feels like it's all the way over here, or it's like behind me. It never feels right, but it's because it's, probably torn apart at this point. But that's kind of a good segue into another topic that I wanted to ask about. There's a lot of electric vehicles coming out. This is very popular. A lot of people have electric cars. Is there any kind of difference in electric cars and the sound systems that go into those compared to what you would put in a typical gas power car? Like, is any difference in that in the electrical car because of how it runs in that like sound? Like, I don't know, when you drive the electric car, even though it's quiet, kind of get that buzz, so you get like a hum. Does that hum like incorporate over into the audio or anything like that?
It might, but the way that we're judging is we're not driving these vehicles. We're just sitting there stationary, parked. Usually it'll be with the engines off. So we won't hear that while we're judging. As far as how they sound, we're just scoring them based on how well do they compare to a reference, which is the live music. So if there's a disadvantage for an electrical vehicle, then they're going to have to solve that. That's part of the challenge. So far, I haven't heard much about it. We have one that is on the circuit pretty heavily. Well, I wouldn't say pretty heavily, but has been in the circuit. And I don't think that they've had that many issues with it, other than trying to use 12-volt components with a different voltage system there.
Kind of adding to this whole thing, another thing that I've noticed in the past couple of years is from the factory, car audio systems have come a long, long way from 10, 20 years ago. There's all these big name audio companies into doing car audio. You have Bose, you have B&O, you have like Focal, you have all these like home audio companies that also do car audio, and a lot of cars now come stock with these, like you have the Macintosh systems, they come stock with these higher end systems. So the first part to this question was, do you see it more challenging now that cars maybe come with a better stock radio or sound system?
I wouldn't call it challenging, because sometimes those systems don't do well based off our judging criteria, trying to recreate a live performance. Basically a live performance on the front of your car. They may sound better in a different way, or to different styles of music. But we listen to jazz, orchestra tracks, kind of those types of music for our judging. So they may not do well in our scoring, or maybe some of the pieces might still work, but you may need to add like a DSP to help bring it to life better. Sometimes people, they just gut, these high-end systems that come as OEM and replace them with another system that they think sounds better. Probably those high-end OEM systems probably could still always be improved one way or another.
Do you think that the higher-end OEM systems have affected the car audio industry as a whole, whether it is maybe the industry has maybe come down a little bit, or has it not affected it at all with all these like brand name systems in the cars from OEM?
It might be impacting the industry as far as sales go, because now people will buy these cars, general consumers, and that's good enough for them. You have that aspect of it. And then you just have where society, especially the younger kids, they're not driving as much. They're not going to get their license right when they turn driving age, and we've kind of missed out on some of those younger crowds there.
That is actually a true statement. A lot of teenagers are not like, when I was 16, I was driving, and like that was it. It was happening the day of, if not before. But that is not the case anymore for a lot of people. Leading off of those brands being OEM, what are some of the brands that you would say are like the top car audio brands? Like what are the names of these brands that you, from the competition side, would say, these are like the top, handful or whatever that you can share with me? Because I don't know, like there's the brands in the home audio world that are like, that's a top brand, that's a top brand. Maybe it's not the best, but like that's a flagship brand. What are the flagship brands for car audio?
Let's see, as far as the sound quality side goes, I know that we have Arc Audio, we have Zapco, we have ESB, Italia Hi-Fi, Focal. Sony's still producing head units, pretty good head units. Kenwood has good head units. I think Pioneer still has some. Alpine is still around. Stinger, I have a Stinger head unit in my vehicle, and they make a lot of wiring. Man, there's like too many to list, I think.
Can we bring back the removable faceplates?
I don't know.
I mean, nobody's really stealing car head units as much as they were back in the 90s and the early 2000s. But you remember that, right?
Oh, yeah. I went from a pull-out to removable faceplate. And yeah, I think actually all of my vehicles now have the screens in them, the bigger screens now.
I already know the answer to this. Well, actually, I don't. This is why I'm curious. So you had the pull-out faceplates, okay, which they probably don't really do anymore. But they also had the Dischangers in the trunk. Is that a thing at all?
No, actually. So this could lead into another topic. So we were using CDs as our judging material all the way up until 2023 was the last year we were using CDs. And as we were transitioning out of it, it was becoming harder and harder to have vehicles that still use CDs. So we would have to take the CD and rip it to a USB drive. So that was 2 years ago. I think we're now in our second year of using USB drives or streaming service. So this year for 2025, we've linked up with Qobuz, and now we have our judging playlist on Qobuz. You can still get it other ways, buying the tracks through iTunes. But yeah, we're now completely removed away from CD. So if you end up coming to an event with a CD, well, it's your responsibility to get those tracks so we can listen to your car.
So do a lot of these head units now have Qobuz in them? Or are you connecting like a laptop?
In most cases, people are using, like in my case, I use CarPlay or Auto Android, and I'm using Qobuz through that.
Okay, that makes sense.
There's some people who I know they've got the HD players, little handheld HD players, and they'll make a mount for it, and they'll play it through that.
Now, do they incorporate video at all?
We don't judge on that, so most people don't. I don't think they even dabble with video, so they just worry about sound.
Okay, I gotcha. I remember just screens. I mean, I guess it's probably not a thing anymore. Like there were just screens everywhere because that was a while. But now you have a phone that has a screen, and half the cars now have like a 14-inch touchscreen on them anyway. But I didn't know if they were, playing I don't even know if they make that many music videos anymore. But that was the thing 20 some years ago. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are having the same, flashbacks that I am. The nostalgia in what you remember from 20 years ago is just that's how I picture a lot of this. So not being, totally in it, It's a lot about what I think, and I wouldn't have thought that a lot of these cars are stock or your basic daily driver cars. I would have been like, these are all like souped up sports cars or big trucks or whatever. I would have not thought that. So I've learned a lot from the whole aspect of it. If there's something that you would want to tell like somebody who's never been to one of your shows, or might be attending Axpona and get to see you guys for the first time, what would you tell them to kind of maybe get them pumped up, or just maybe something that they wouldn't expect?
Probably definitely go get a demo, because what they're going to hear is probably what isn't something that they're expecting. They're probably not expecting it to sound that well. So yeah, definitely get several demos if you can. Yeah, definitely get in these cars and listen to them.
That's so. I think that's going to be a popular thing. I mean, to be able to go, like, I want to just go listen to a couple of these just to get that experience that I'm probably never going to really get at home.
That will be the big eye opener, is listening to these cars and just being basically like amazed at how these sound.
So how does someone find a local event to them?
Well, you can go to IASCA.com and we have an events page. They can scroll through that, just find something that's near them. If not, they could email info@iasca.com and we could try to, find one that's near them, or maybe guide them to one that they may have to travel to, give them some expectations of what they'll see at a show. Now,
is this something that like anyone can enter?
Yes. There's no membership required.
It's on.
Yeah, you can come out, and these events are great for getting feedback. So if you just got a system installed and you just want to know how well does it sound compared to something else, or just getting some feedback, like how can it be better, going to an event and actually entering, you'll get a score sheet with feedback on it of how you can improve.
Wow, they don't have anything like that for home audio. That's very interesting. You can't bring your system to a group at an event anywhere. Like, so that's actually a very interesting concept and a good reason to attend one of these if you are thinking of getting some aftermarket audio for your vehicle. Like, that's a great thing. Even if I almost want to say, like, do people ever attend these just with a stock system to see where they should start? Like, if somebody's looking to build a first system for themselves, what's the best path that they can take?
So I've seen it done a couple different ways, being at these events. First, more common ways that I've seen is people getting connected with shops that know how to get the install done for a competition vehicle. All right, so there's that. There's also just coming to an event and meeting these competitors and just talking with them and becoming friends and using the competitors as a resource. That's also one way. Like up here in the Northwest, it seems like every year there's somebody that keeps coming to our events as a spectator, and all he's doing is learning. And every time I talk to them, they're like, I'm trying to figure out what to get, or what should I do before I jump into this, so I'm not going in blindly and doing something that isn't going to have great results. Yeah, just coming and getting connected in the community, car audio community, that's probably one of the biggest steps that someone can do.
That's amazing. I think that may be very important for people attending Axpona who's going to the IASCA area, the expo hall with all the vehicles, because a lot of people's going to be like, how can I do this? And I think that's great advice for somebody trying to get into it. And this could be an eye-opener to a lot of people who just, they don't know how to get, replicate that home audio system in their car. It'll be great to meet you there. I hope everybody, watching this and everybody that attends Axpona checks out the car audio, checks out IASCA. Like, it's going to be such an interesting concept and something new this year. There's always new stuff happening in Axpona, but just a whole new, area for more fun. It just sounds like fun to go in and just try out audio in a car. It's going to be an amazing experience. I appreciate you coming on and talking about IASCA for those like me who had no idea.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You know, I love talking to people about it and getting people excited. So it's a fun activity.
I myself can't wait. But for this week's episode of the Audio Insider Podcast from Axpona, that is all I got. Thank you, Travis Chin from IASCA, for coming on the show. It was amazing. I had a great time, and I can't wait to see you at Axpona.
Yeah, thank you.